We do bands, we do DJs, we do national acts, we do speed painters, caricature artists. We do the craziest things. If you think it, we've got it. And if we don't have it, we'll find it. We will not disappoint. That is our promise and commitment to everyone. And have a Breezin' day.
Hi, this is Michael Dervech, VP of Breezin Entertainment and Productions. Thank you for joining us on our first episode of Breezin Chats. Today joining us is Cindy Dervech with Breezin Entertainment, and we are going to be discussing how Cindy began a career and how Breezin got started and where they are today. Today's guest, Cindy, is the owner and CEO of Breezin Entertainment and Productions, and I'm proud to call her my mom. Breezin Entertainment is a family-owned and operated business founded in 1988 and has been a top-tier entertainment provider in the Tampa Bay area for over 3 decades now. Breezin specializes in corporate, weddings, and social functions, working with organizations such as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tampa International Airport, Super Bowl, College Football National Championship, Price Waterhouse Corporation, Visit Tampa Bay, and over 2,000 plus brides throughout the Florida area. They were awarded the 2017 South Tampa Chamber of Commerce Small Business of the Year Award and are a licensed, bonded, and insured company, creating memorable experience for you and your guests through live entertainment. Welcome, Cindy, and thank you for joining us. So happy to have you as our guest on our first episode of Breezin Chats.
Thank you, Michael. I'm excited to be here and sitting across from you as my baby, all grown up. I have a smile across my face that's so big I wish everybody could see it.
Well, everyone does see it. Everyone knows you very well throughout the Tampa Bay community. You have a resume that is a mile long that really just shows what you've done throughout your life and just how far you have come. So you know what, let's just kind of kick it right off. Cindy, tell me and tell the viewers about yourself, where you come from, where you grew up. Kind of give us a little insight of who Cindy Dervech is.
I was born in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and my family moved to Tampa, Florida when I was 10 years old. And I feel like I'm a native now because I've been here so many years. Got to grow up in South Tampa and got involved in the community, went to all the local schools. I chuckle at myself because I went to Dale Mabry Elementary, Coleman, and Plant High School. And now my 2 sons also went through that same school system.
Yes, we were all Dolphins, Cobras, and Panthers together, that is for sure.
And that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, so, Cindy, you're a northern girl coming down to Tampa. How did you get started in the hospitality industries? I mean, kind of what lessons of customer service were instilled in your foundation through these jobs? Kind of answer that for me.
Yeah, sure. Well, I went to school at the University of Florida. Don't hold that against me because my boys all went to Florida State.
No.
And school was really hard for me at a very young age. Well, actually, it wasn't a really young age in college. I was dyslexic. And I don't know, back then we just never did anything about it. But I always struggled in college. And one summer I came home and my mother and brother decided they wanted to buy a bar. Many of you might have known it. It was 42nd Street Station, and it was on Bush Boulevard and 42nd Street. And that was it. I got the fever. And I worked there for the summer and did everything you can possibly do. I mean, I was experiencing everything from opening and closing, and half of the bar was a Philadelphia steak sandwich restaurant, and the other half was a disco. So I helped my brother with that, and I never went back to school. Very disappointing for my mother, but I found my joy. I found what I was passionate about. And kind of midway through that experience, I guess maybe I did a good job, and I was approached a few times. On 42nd Street, the parking lot that was adjacent to it was Busch Gardens, and that's where all the employees parked. And all the managers used to come in and eat the steak sandwiches during the day and have lunch, and we would talk and we would chat. And I was always interested in Busch Gardens and what it had to offer. And one of the human resources directors had, came to me, sat down with me, and he asked me if I would be interested in coming over to the park to work. And I had to take a deep breath, and I went, gosh, maybe that's another opportunity I should explore. So that was my next big step into the hospitality world.
So you were in the family business at 42nd Street Station with your brothers and your mom.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, this big theme park, may not have been big at the time, but Busch Gardens comes around.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
And then what happened with that?
Well, what happened was that I got hired, and I got hired to go into the food service department, which I guess that they thought that was a natural fit since I was running a steakhouse restaurant at the station, and it was amazing. It was a whole different ball of wax, and I was the supervisor of Area 2, which was the smokehouse restaurant, bazaar, Zambezi, and there was an ice cream with soft ice cream. I don't remember the name of it. It might even still be there. And I just really learned the ins and outs of working with line employees and young people, and really loved it. And I found that the customer service piece was another piece that I just felt really natural, talking to all the guests and making sure I wanted to make sure they were having a wonderful time and that the food was good, but also their experience in the park was what their expectations were.
Yeah, when people go to an amusement park, that makes sense. They want to have that customer service. They want to have that experience that they'll remember forever with their families. So you were able to provide that for them, weren't you?
Yeah, I really was. And then the other thing I really learned were, because we certainly didn't have them at our home business at the bar and the restaurant, was procedures in place and rules and ways that bigger companies, corporations worked. So that was really eye-opening to me, that there were really ways to hire people and to manage people and to guide people and to mentor them. So that was something that I felt really good about. I felt like I did a good job at it.
So that's kind of some of the things you learned in Area 2 of Busch Gardens.
At Area 2 of Busch Gardens.
The customer service
Yeah.
and the experience, and how to really provide that little extra feel for your guests that you've met.
Absolutely.
Anything else after Busch Gardens or after?
Well, going just back to Busch Gardens, one thing I learned very quickly at Busch Gardens was I did not like wearing the brownie uniform, and I was in the smokehouse restaurant quite often, and before I was even allowed to come back in the house, I had to take my whole uniform off. My husband would have a robe there ready for me, so that, because it would really, if you've never worked in a smokehouse before, it just gets in your hair, it gets in your clothes, and it's kind of interesting. So I knew that was something I did not want to do for the rest of my life.
Was be in the food industry?
No, not the food industry, but to not be, I knew I wanted to be in the hospitality industry and work with tourism and with people, but I knew that I really did not want to work in a restaurant all the time after that experience. And then an opportunity came up at Busch Gardens, and these two really amazing young ladies who used to sell tickets for the park, because that's how they used to do it. They would go to the hotels and they would commission tickets to the convention bureau and to everybody that had guests in their hotel, so they could buy discounted tickets to get to the park. And these two young ladies, Donna and Marilee Caravelli, they were brilliant. And they came up with an idea that the park used to open like at 10 o'clock in the morning and close at 5. And the park was thousands and thousands of square feet of beautiful gardens, and probably one of the most beautiful zoo that you would ever want to see, with the different animals. And they decided they wanted to present to the corporation that they wanted to sell the park at night for events. And I used to watch them walk around the property with clients, and I used to go, gosh, I want to do that. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to create events I thought it would be at Busch Gardens.
Very cool. Yeah, so like it's pretty crazy to see that Busch Gardens really didn't have the event side of it while you were there, and it was kind of, you got to see that as a baby transform to what Busch Gardens is today, which is pretty unbelievable.
It was very cool, and I had an opportunity to they started it, and these two young ladies, I wanted to work with them. So they were ready to hire. It took some time to build it up, and I wanted to be their event coordinator. And a job was posted, like in corporations, they have to post things. They can't just handpick somebody. And I went in for an interview, and it was really sad to me that because I worked in the food service part of it, that they could not envision me doing anything else but be working in the restaurant. So I did not get that job at the time, but I got a bug.
Yeah.
And from there, I knew I wanted to work in some event space or a hotel, which I started to put my thinking cap on and look what my next strategic move was going to be.
Yeah. And what was that next strategic move that you came up with?
Well, I worked at Busch Gardens, I think, for 4 or 5 years. And then I lived, like I told you earlier, at South Tampa, and there was a brand new hotel going up on the corner of West Shore and Kennedy. And I would drive by it every day on my way home from work, and I kept saying, I want to work there. And there was a number finally got put up once the hotel got to a certain point where they were going to start hiring employees. So I started calling the number, and I got a hold of one evening. This was being just persistent. Many, many times I called, nobody answered. Finally, I called, and a Mr. Eli White, who became my mentor, and he finally talked to me, and he said, listen, we're not hiring anybody for another 3-4 months. Call me back. And of course, he didn't even ask if I had a resume. He just asked me, what do I do? And I was telling him what I did at Busch Gardens. And then I got this feeling that maybe he was locking me into the food service industry too. And he said, do you want to be in the restaurant business? Do you want to be in the banquet side of it? I said, no, I want to sell. I didn't know that's what I meant, that I wanted to sell the property. Yeah. So he just kept saying, Cindy, just call me back in another month. So I would call religiously the same day of the month, the same time. He'd answer the phone and go, hey, Cindy, because I knew I wanted to work at that property.
I mean, that's just so brave of you to keep the persistency of just keep calling and keep calling. I mean, you get so many people these days that say, yeah, give me a call back in a month, give me a call back in 2 months, and people don't follow up with that. But you show that if you follow up, good things will happen to you.
They will happen. And I tell my team that today too. It's a attitude. When you find your passion, other people will feel it as well. And so finally, Eli answered the phone. He goes, okay, fine, come on in. So I went in for a conversation. It really wasn't an interview. He had always told me he was going to hire me. He wanted to make sure I found the right fit he wanted to find the right fit for me. Yeah. And we decided I would be an outside rep for the Lincoln Hotel. So the Lincoln Hotel was the second hotel that was close to a 4-star hotel. The Marriott West Shore was the first one built in that area. Yeah. And I got to open the Lincoln Hotel as my first job. And
that's the one that was right off of Kennedy and West Shore, right across the West Shore Mall now.
At one time, it was called the International Hotel.
Intercontinental?
No, International Hotel.
Okay.
And it was a real, it was a historic almost piece of a hotel on this property, which once they knocked it down, it was amazing. Now sits there Urban One business center, an urban 2 business center. In the middle of that hotel is, in the middle of those 2 office towers is the hotel. And just for some of you that are listening, on top of that, if you're not, because you wouldn't know it, it's the Lincoln. Right now, I think it's called the West Shore Hotel. But on top of that hotel is the Center Club now. So they started me in outside sales. Wasn't sure what I was going to do. And we had a beautiful ballroom. It was just a really beautiful hotel. And it was then became the Lincoln Hotel. And it was a property that there was Lincoln Management, and they bought it and they decided to create a boutique hotel. And I got to work there and open it up. And that was an experience of a lifetime. I never knew what it takes. I had no experience like that. Working for my family, you worked hard and a lot, but this was so much different and bigger than me.
Yeah, you're working in a corporation now.
Yeah.
You're working for people. You're not working for your family. You have bosses that you need to live up to the expectations of that. And I know you've always told me this, that you absolutely loved the corporate world.
Loved it.
Something that you could have never seen yourself getting out of.
Exactly.
And I mean, from Busch Gardens corporate, doing the events there corporate, the Lincoln Hotel corporate, how did you get started into the current field that you are today? Like, when did the entrepreneur bug bite you? What compelled you to become the entrepreneur that you are?
Well, gotta be honest, Michael, I never had a desire to own my own business. I never even knew what that was to look like. You're right. I did like corporate America. I liked challenging everybody there. I was a little feisty. So we had goals and we had budgets. And I remember I grew up the ladder at the Lincoln quite quickly. I went, from an outside sales manager to the inside sales catering manager to an assistant director of catering, and then a director of catering in.
So you really climbed up the ladder.
Yeah, probably in like 3 years. I was really young. I was like
That's fast.
Yeah, that was fast. I started there, in 3 years. So I started there when I was like 25, and then I was, was 28. I had gotten married, and my husband, I have to give my husband all the credit for this. For what I've done. I never knew I had it in me to do it, and he always pushed me. But another person that always pushed me was my mom. My mom saw big things for me. She saw my name in lights, and she just thought that I just could do anything I put my heart and soul into. And I got married. As I said, I worked at the Lincoln Hotel, which then turned into the Sheraton Grand, and that's where I became the director of catering there. And then my husband I got pregnant with my first son, Jeffrey, and I had all intentions on coming back to the corporate world when I went on maternity leave. And the first time I did go back, I was on maternity leave for 12 weeks. And when I went to go back, my husband really didn't want me. He was a little old school, and he really wanted me to stay home and raise our children and be very present with my kids. So I wanted that too, and I stayed home for a year with Jeffrey, and it was amazing. And I then got a call from it was the Lincoln, and the Lincoln got bought by the Sheraton Grand, and they asked me to come back. And my husband was a little taken back by it, Stevie D. And I said, it's really something I want to do, but I'm going to make it work. I'm not going to, back in those days, and I think even today too, if you're in sales or you're in management, and especially the hotel world, it has changed greatly, but the hours were insane. They were 60 and 70 hours a week. And he just wanted to make sure that I found a way to balance that. So I remember when I went back, we had a conversation, and I told them, this has to be an 8 to 5 job. I can't work past 5 o'clock. I have a family now, and I get it if you can't hire me, but this is just something that's important to me. But I promise you that I will put what more people can put in an 8-hour day. I'll put 15 hours into an 8-hour day, because if everybody looks around, you know how much time can be wasted in your offices with chit chat, and now with the phones. And so they agreed that I could work from 8:30 to 5. And then I felt bad. I walked in on my first day. My secretary had 2 children, and she had to work until the job was done. And one of my other sales managers had children. So here I come with the new rule, and now I'm working 8 to 5. And I remember my husband calling me on that first day going, Cindy, it's 5 o'clock. Grab your briefcase, and you need to leave now, or they'll never believe it. So I did, and I felt really bad about that. I felt like there were other people that should deserve that as well. So when I came back, I wanted to change that. I wanted everybody to have what I had, the people that I worked with. So I tried to make some flex time for my team so that they could enjoy their families and make sure that they can get to the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that work-life balance that that you're comfortable with, something that obviously everyone has a life outside of work. So back in the day, you're saying 15 hours. I mean, there's people that still do that today, but you just have to find that work-life balance, which you do a great job here at Breezin with.
Thank you, Michael.
Allow your employees to, you're very open. If they need something, they need a little time off, they need an extra 30 minutes for lunch or anything like that, you really step up and you give it to them, no questions asked. I mean, it's just something that really does make you a great boss to work with. I mean, I've only been here for 6 or 7 months now, but I really have seen that since I've been here. So kudos to you on that and picking that up from your prior work experiences. Speaking of prior work experiences, tell me about some of your mentors or role models that have given you tools from their experiences that have impacted you today.
One of them was really the flex time and being very compassionate and patient came from my first boss at the Lincoln Hotel, and that was Mary Lath. And she was way ahead of her time. And she believed that as well, that this 80 hours a week, 70 hours a week was insane. So she taught me to enjoy life and enjoy your work, that there is a balance from it. So that when I decided to start, you asked before, and I don't know if I really answered it, how I started was that I came home on maternity leave when you were born. And I had all intentions on going back. And this time I cleaned my desk out and I brought home a bunch of cards and a bunch of things because someone had to use my desk to sell. And I wanted to go back to work, but I wanted to stay home as well. And I actually called my general manager up and I had asked him, I said, I don't want to come back full time, but I want to be a part of this. Can we job share? I have somebody that I found that I can job share my position as a director of catering. And he was not open to it. Now, this was 30 years ago, and people weren't doing that then, but I knew it would work. And he was not, he wasn't open to it. So I was a little devastated because I really wanted to stay home with Michael like I did with my son, Jeffrey. And then my husband said, let's start an entertainment agency. And I was going, what are you talking about? And he goes, I got to go to New York. I got to go research it. I got to do a business plan. I have to do all my homework. And he said, no, Cindy, just do you. And I said, okay. And I did that. I just did me. I got a desk and I put it in the baby's nursery. And I opened the phone book and started looking for different entertainment and what was in the phone book. That was 30 years ago. So I called all my counterparts. By now there were like 4 or 5 hotels. The Hyatt downtown was in place. The Marriott was in place. The Vinoy came aboard in St. Petersburg. And then the Lincoln was here. And then there was the Admiral Bimbo. And I called my counterparts and I just asked them, I said, I'm thinking about doing this. becoming a booking agent, what do you think? I said, would you have any need for someone that can supply you great service for your clients and different styles of entertainment, like bands and DJs and steel drummers? And my first client was, I talked to the first director of catering I talked to was over at the Marriott on West Shore, and he said, Cindy, let me think about it. The next day, Michael, my phone started ringing off the wall. The 5 hotels I called said, I just got a call for a harpist. Do you have any harpists? And I'm going, yeah, sure, I have a harpist. And then before I knew it, I was like looking for harpists. And this is really...
So you were promising him all this stuff. And at the time when you said yes, did you have anyone?
Well, I didn't have a harpist, but what I had was my husband, who was a musician. And Stevie D. He came down here from New Jersey as well, but several years after I did. And he was the house band at the Columbia Restaurant. That's actually where I met him, in a band called Street Beat. He's the one that encouraged me to do this craziness. And he's kind of guided me, like, just pick up the phone book, call a few people. So I found somebody in the phone book. I guess the phone book is today's internet. But I was a rare commodity. There weren't a lot of entertainment agencies back then. Now, my experience was to build relationships. So I would talk to somebody on the phone, a harpist in particular, and then I would invite them in for coffee, and we would have conversations. I vented them back then. They would come to my home, or I would go to them and just get to know them, because I didn't want to just send anybody out for my clients. I felt like that was so important to make sure there are, as in any business or in any venture, you never know who you're hiring, but we had to make sure that we were hiring people that could produce what I was selling, that would showcase us well. So then I got people calling me for bands, and I didn't have a band. And I went, I need a band. So I told my husband, we need a band. So my girlfriend was the food and beverage director at the Admiral Bimbo. Stevie D put together our first house band, and they rehearsed there. And Admiral Bimbo is right across from the Marriott West Shore. Okay. It's now the Holiday Inn, I believe. I'm not 100%. And that was quite an experience. So all of a sudden, now not only is the hotel calling me for entertainment, they decided that I should just talk to the clients directly. So then that's how we kind of got in the wedding business. They had brides getting married and they wanted entertainment. So we would bring them to the Admiral Bimbo to hear the band. And that band was called the Breezin Band.
The first Breezin Band.
The first Breezin Band. It was our house band. That is the name of our company, which my husband also...
Yeah, how did the name Breezin come about? I mean, it's a very unique name, something that you really don't hear every day. But tell me the kind of the story, the background story of how you came up with this name.
Actually, Stevie one day said, let's just call the company Breezin. I go, gosh, it doesn't tie into anything. He goes, well, I love it. It's an I forget who George Benson's song, Breezin' in the Wind. And I went, okay, it's Breezin'. So when I look back 30 years later, I'm going, it's, how do you brand that now? So we did brand it. But that's how the company got its name. And then we started our mantra from it. We want to make your event a breeze. So we were there to do just that, to help the clients take the pain out of booking entertainment.
So you kind of talk about the pain and stuff like that. I want to kind of circle back just a little bit and talk about, you did talk about Breezin provides DJs and bands. But tell me a little bit more about the operation of the business and some of the other services that we do provide for clients.
Yeah, we are now we're 30 years in. We are so fortunate that a lot of my things that I did back then, I'm still doing. I feel it's really important to vent the entertainment. The entertainers are a big piece of what we're selling. We're booking entertainers, but we're selling a service. And the service is that we are going to take the pain out of booking it. So anybody that wants a theme party, or they want a national act, or anything from a small violinist to a orchestra.
Full-on production.
Full-on production. I wasn't doing all of that before. I was sticking to just the entertainment, but we were getting asked by many clients, will you book the transportation? Will you book the, limousines, the photographers, the florists? And I don't do that very often and didn't then, but when it just became asked so often that Jessie Smolinski, who's been with me for 10 years, came to me about two years ago. I hired her as a very young girl, and she's going on actually 10 years this year in March, and proud to have her as part of my team. And she's now my director of events. And she said, Cindy, it is so foolish that we don't do the month of wedding coordinating. And that was a passion of hers, and I wanted her to fulfill her dreams as well. So we started that slowly. We didn't advertise it. She'd been doing it for 8 years with us and on her own, and we turned it into, this is our second year doing it as a full service wedding month of coordinating. I'm really proud how she's handling it.
Yeah, she's doing a great job with that. I mean, speaking with her directly, she's something that she is absolutely passionate about.
So passionate about it.
She loves working with the brides and the grooms, and she loves the to relieve that stress of a bride of the day of the wedding, and making sure that everything's run perfectly to how they like it. So, I mean, I'll give her kudos as well. She is an amazing woman that we do have on our team, and we couldn't have gotten this far without her, I do not think.
No, I know. I couldn't go there without her. She really has developed into she knocked on my door one day. She sent a resume. I didn't respond, and that's something I'm now making sure I do more often, that she's just so passionate about it.
Yeah, she really is, and her being the director of events, I know that we do over 3,000 events a year. I want to get, in your opinion, name me some of the exciting projects that you have worked on or that you're working on right now.
Yeah, right now we are, we've been fortunate through the years. We're part of the Visit Tampa Bay, so we've done a lot of big conventions that have come into town. We've done a lot of sporting events. We've had the privilege of working with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for many years, the New York Yankees, the Rays, and this year we with the football, we've gotten to do quite a bit. We've done the 2 Super Bowls that have been in Tampa, and got to travel to Atlanta. We're expanding our horizons. We're in Atlanta, we're in Miami and Fort Lauderdale area, and did the college playoff games last year there.
The national championship last year, yeah.
That's when you lived in Atlanta. You assisted
That's when
with
I headed
us.
that one up, yeah.
Yep. And then this year we're going back for Super Bowl. Very, very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just some big things there. Is there any new trends or anything that you see coming in the future years?
Well, one of the things that I do see trends, last year when my husband's band retired, and we felt like we needed to have a house band. So I produced a band called 813 Live. It's kind of like our new Breezin band, but very contemporary, very today. You can check them out on our website if you want to see them. And they're wonderful. And then this year, we created another new product called the DJ Fusion Band. And that
sounds interesting.
Yep. We've been getting a lot more calls for bands again, and bands can get very costly. And so we're able to take a DJ and infuse it with a couple live musicians. So we're doing right now anything from a DJ and 3 musicians. We could do a solo musician up to a whole band playing with the DJ. It's very hot right now. The Knot and the Wedding Wire said it was, I was producing this before it came out. in the wedding wire and the knot, but that it was a big trend for 2019.
Yeah, it's a pretty unbelievable brand that you put together there with the DJ, and then adding in a live drummer, a live conga player, a live saxophone. It kind of gives the fusion, I guess is what it's called, of that live band mixed in with the DJ playing over his tracks.
Very exciting.
It is an exciting. We went to a party, a NACE party, which we provided that for,
and actually that's where we rolled it out.
Everyone was just amazed by it.
Yeah, it's very cool
when we did roll it out. Yeah.
Yep.
In the next, let's say over the past 5 to 10 years, I'm sure business has changed from 30 years ago even. Kind of talk me through how the operations have changed, technology integrations, kind of tell me what you've seen different and maybe what you see to come in the future as well.
Yeah, technology is it. We in 2008, when the market crashed, we had been in business for almost 12 or 15 years, and that was devastating. And I remember saying to myself, I had to let a couple team members go, and saying to myself, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So I went and I sat on the beach. I came back and I went back to my basic 101, picking up the phone, calling clients, making sure we provided the best customer service, whatever was needed. I got accused of being on a fire sale, and I was like, if that's what it takes to keep my doors open in this terrible time, then I'm doing it. I kept a lot of people employed, independent contractors, and a few team members, and we started, as the economy got better, people still got married, so weddings became our thing, and we did a great job at weddings, and we continue to do that, but that people felt somehow, even in those bad times, people really wanted to get married and have a connection in those hard times. So that was the first thing, just always going back to basic one-on-one. And then the internet changed everything. It was my phone book. The phone book was the phone book. They're just different ways now. Now it's the internet. And the internet was exciting and is exciting, and everybody popped up. Everybody was a DJ. Everybody wanted to book themselves, but nobody was playing on the same playing field. And in the state of Florida, you need to be licensed, bonded, and insured. It is a felony to book entertainment in the state of Florida without having a license.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. But so we just started building relationships. That's where it was always at, was the relationships with one-on-one with people. And those people are still in the industry. I have clients that I've been with for 30 years. I have entertainers that have worked for me for 30 years. I think you've met several of them in the last 6 months since you've been here. But as far as the change and where we're going, technology. 2 years ago, I decided we had to go paperless. And I was scared to death. I'm a paper girl. And we are now totally 95% paperless. And everything's in the cloud, wherever the heck that is. I do not know where that cloud is, and God hopes that cloud never crashes. But we are now in the position. Today I had some appointments in Clearwater, and I had so much work to do, but I was able to work remotely. And that still puts a smile on my face every time, because that's just something that wasn't there then. And so I'm very proud of my team. We've kept up. We went on to new databases. I had a database that was 25 years old, and we are now current and have marketing tools. And just if people haven't stayed current, they're out of the game. They haven't gotten into the social media game, they're going to be left behind. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, internet and social media, in the past 10, 12 years has just skyrocketed. And if, like you said, if you're not on social media now, you will fall behind and you'll become non-existent.
Those have already fallen behind.
You're right. Many have. Many many don't want to come to the realization that they have to, especially the older group. There's a lot of older people that don't want to go and become active on social media, and it's really will hurt them now and in the long run.
If they're keeping a business above water.
Correct.
Trying to, yes.
You're right. I know you've mentioned a few times about your team, and you've mentioned about Jesse and a little bit about me. Why don't you tell everyone that's listening who's on your team, maybe what they do, and just kind of give me all that.
I have a wonderful team. I have actually, I want to start a little backwards, because the two other members that are on my team they were hired as interns. So I have a huge internship program that I started back, I think it might be 15 years ago already. And it was really...
I've been out of college for almost 6 years now, and I know that a lot of people that you had intern for you when I was there, so it has to be right around 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been a good 10 years, and I have about 4 interns this semester, and my goal is just to help these young people. I love the millenniums. I am proud of them. They are amazing. They are brilliant, and they excite me. And the 2 young ladies on my team, Gina is been with me going on 4 years.
And what does Gina do for you?
Gina is in sales, and she is amazing, but she started out first semester as an intern. I didn't even notice her. And then, because somebody took her under their wing, and then the second, she came and talked to me and asked me if she could stay a second semester. She was a little quiet at the time. She was young. She was 20 years old. She stayed another semester. And now, 4 years later, Gina is one of my top salespeople, a wonderful young lady that I am very, very proud to have by my side. Has great character and morals, has good work ethic. She's passionate about what she does. She loves her job. And just makes me smile. It makes me really, really happy. And then I have Bella, who came to me last December, not this past December, last December, and started as an intern as well, and fell in love with her. And she became my sales assistant. And she has also taken on becoming a role in the wedding division as a wedding coordinator lead. And she's also blossoming. It's been a year that she's been with me, and I'm also grateful for her. And there's and I'm grateful for Michael. I really, really am. I have to pinch myself that he called one day and said, I'm coming home. And here you are.
And you said, what are you going to do?
And I said, what are you going to do?
So what do you mean? I'm coming home to work at Breezin. Come on now.
Oh, my goodness. And then there's one last person that I have to mention is someone that really helped me change my world in these times of hard times. And that is my oldest son, Jeffrey. He has an office in my building, and he has become my business mentor. And I am just so proud of him. I made changes. It was a hard time for me a couple years ago. I said something's not right here with this whole picture, and I cleaned house. I fired my CFO. I fired my lawman. I fired my website guy. I fired the mailman. I just fired anybody that came in place that did not make me feel good about my business or the good vibes. All I wanted to be was around people that were passionate, exciting, and positive. And that is exactly what my team is to me today.
Yeah, you really, really have a great team here, and you really have set some great values for people to kind of live by and kind of take in. So I want to ask, in your business and that you've started and had for 30 years now, how did you get it to become so successful? What are some of maybe the core values that drive the company of Breezin?
Well, the first thing I wanted to mention is that I did have some hard times, and I think what happens is, as a salesperson, that was my first love with sales, that I wasn't paying attention to the back of the house. So any advice I could give anybody is that it is totally, when a mistake is made, it is totally the CEO or the owner or president or whatever title I call myself to be on, that it's totally my responsibility. So that's when I said 2 years ago I did that, is because I wasn't taking responsibility for my own company and the destiny of it. So that is some advice I give to any small business especially. I can now tell you proudly that I am a CEO of my own company, and looking at the daily operations to make sure that everything is in check to be successful. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I wished I really had more of was really sales training. I winged things, but in today's world, and I'm encouraging my team to read, listen to podcasts. There's so much free education out there for you to become better at whatever you want to do. All you have to do is Google it or YouTube, and they will teach you how to do everything. And I really, really encourage that with my team.
Nice. I mean, you kind of just talked about my next talking point of what advice would you give someone who's interested in starting their own business. I mean, you really have to be determined to take responsibility, and you have to be able to drive in core values for a business, and that just kind of let it go. It's going to run its course, and whatever happens, you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to step up to the challenge when it comes up. So that's
how you handle the problems are what define you. I mean, their problems are going to happen, and how you handle them is what's going to make you a better operator, a smarter operator. I never looked at my glass half empty. I always looked at our glass half full. And I think that if you're going to start your own business and think it's a 9-to-5 job, you're kidding yourself. Don't do it. It doesn't happen that way. It is actually, it's kind of funny because we sat down as a team and talked about our core values. And we decided that after all is said and done, from our name Breezin, that there is where our core values lied. And we did B, because I feel blessed. R is that you have to be reliable. And these core values are not only for the business, they're for you personally in your personal lives and for my team. The E is for experience. E for eventful. We have a Z in Breezin, and it couldn't be more perfect to say that you need some Zen in your life to be at peace, not to get, you need to be understood, and you need some quiet time and to create what you envision and what your team envisions. And then the I is for inspired. The end is never ending. And the little mark behind Breezin, when you work with Breezin, you will receive an event experience beyond expectations as the team at Breezin go above and beyond to meet clients' expectations.
That is awesome, Cindy. I really want to thank you for all you've done for me, and I want to let you know that I love you. What you've done with this business is absolutely amazing. Started it before I was even created, and you've done such a great job. I hope other people around the community, around the world, really notice it, and you need all the kudos that you can get because you are an entrepreneur that's really succeeded. You know, you have these entrepreneurs now that try and do it, and they fail after 1, 2, 3 months, years, and you have kept it strong and kept it going for 30 years. And I'm sure a lot of people around me in the Tampa Bay community thank you for having this business here and sharing your special skills with everyone else. So I want to thank you for that.
That's awesome. And you know, Michael, I want to ask you a couple questions. May I do that?
Yeah, of course.
This was
turning an interview into an interview.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, when, you know, we talk a lot. When you came, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with you? Where do I begin? And I put you in boot camp. Like, we're sitting right next to each other.
Yep, 2 feet away.
2 feet away. And 6 months later, I have watched all your light bulbs go on, watched all the experience that you learned in your career in Atlanta. What do you see for Breezin?
I see Breezin growing for another 30 years. There is so much out there in the world of entertainment. Everyone is always going to be having a party or always going to be needing some type of entertainment, that I don't see this dying at all. A lot of people say that parties are being done away with, especially in the rough economic times. But with the team that we have today, I really see Breezin growing and expanding. Every day we're thinking of new ideas of how to, like your DJ Fusion that you've came up with, how to incorporate different styles of music, different styles of genres. So I mean, I see that that we are going to be all right in the future here. It's not something that's dying. I mean, we're going to carry it for another 30 years. When I was up in Atlanta, you saw so many different, I worked at the Georgia Aquarium, the Woodruff Art Center, the High Museum. There's so many people out there that are so talented, and they really don't know that they're talented. You have these singers and people that play musicians, but they don't know that there's an agency out there that can get you jobs, that if you want to be a part of it. So I mean, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be working for you and with you, and I just thank you for accepting me to come back.
I love it. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you guys, and like we always say, everyone,
Have a breezin' day.